Eric Clapton in 1969, using a black Gibson, playing both lead and rhythm guitar at the same time. Nasty, raunchy, vicious guitar playing, we love it. And that's the stuff we're gonna cover in this video. Songwriting, technique, vibrato, signature riffs, all the reasons why Eric Clapton kicks ass. Solo by Eric Clapton, Hideaway it's called, with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. Now, what's interesting about Eric Clapton's playing is he has certain riffs and licks that he does very often that sounds immediately like Eric Clapton. Something like this, for instance. Something like that. It's very Eric Clapton-like. Now, what is he doing? Well, basically, the notes are nothing special. He's just playing the E minor pentatonic scale in this instance. But what he does is, he plays a hammer on and pull off. But he plays it very, very, very fast and loud. And then the note that he's gonna end on, he's gonna play that note twice with alternate picking. And make sure to play a little bit of vibrato on that last note. When you play it fast, you get Clapton, and that's what he's doing. Now this is just an example here on the B string and G string. You can do it anywhere. Or perhaps a little bit higher. Just as long as you remember, hammer on and pull off fast, and end twice with vibrato. That's very Clapton-like if you can do that. Now, another thing is his vibrato, especially when doing a bend. With vibrato, he has a very unique way of doing it.
The finger vibrato that you have to use, which is like that, you know, which is very important.
Could you just do that again?
Yeah.
Now that was a great example of a bend with vibrato. Which is quite difficult to do, you need a lot of strength and technique. But the interesting thing is, Eric Clapton has a very strange and awkward way of doing it, but it does create a unique tone. Now let's say we have a riff in the key of A, minor pentatonic scale. See if you can play along. Now that's how most people would play that riff, including myself. Ring finger at the end, bend, and use the vibrato. Now this is how Eric Clapton would play that same riff. Instead of using the ring finger, he uses the middle finger. Why on earth would you want to do two fingers and be all out of position? Well, it's because when you take a look at your hand, the strongest finger by far is the middle finger. That one has the strongest muscle. Even though you can use three fingers, with the ring finger, you're predominantly using a weaker finger. He uses the middle finger, and now he has more strength, so his vibrato is wider. It just sounds different. It's quite awkward, but a unique technique, and it does create a special tone. And it's this technique that he uses in that great solo, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. When you think about Eric Clapton, the first thing that comes to mind probably is the way he plays the blues. So beautifully and subtle and masterfully, and also songs like Tears in Heaven that he wrote. But he could also play very nasty and raunchy if he wanted to.
What do you mean, you want me to break the guitar up?
Well, no, not quite. Just an example of aggression in your music.
Yeah, right.
Now, another good example of that raunchy, nasty guitar playing by Eric Clapton is a song called Dizzy Miss Lizzy that he played with John Lennon live in 1969. Now, when you listen to the Beatle version of that song, you have the rhythm guitar part, and it goes something like this. Just a basic, nice rock and roll song. This is so much fun by itself. But here we have the lead guitar part, and that goes something like this. Now, George Harrison on the Beatles record uses a very traditional vibrato from left to right, and that creates that Beatles sound. Now, that's nice and all, but how does Eric Clapton play that song? Well, first of all, he doesn't use a classical traditional vibrato, but more of a blues vibrato, moving up. And being Eric Clapton, he tends to use his middle finger. Why? Because of more strength, remember? And you can hear the difference. Now the vibrato is even raunchier. Then he adds the little finger. Now if that wasn't enough, he starts playing the rhythm guitar part as well as the lead guitar part, both at the same time. Let's hear how that sounds. Now, besides being an ace guitar player, he also wrote quite a few beautiful songs, most famous Tears in Heaven. Now, there are many great guitarists, but there are very few who can write a song as touching, as beautiful as that. Another great example is the opening track from the Unplucked album. You know, when you listen to a song like that, and you listen to the rhythm, it's actually a samba. If you think Eric Clapton only plays the blues, well, here he is playing a samba, and he also wrote the piece. And when you look at the chords and the melody, whoa, that second chord, it's a B7, secondary dominant, with the 7th note as the bass note, very classical. In fact, Beethoven starts one of his pieces called the Waldstein Sonata with the exact same chord progression. You know you're doing something right when you're doing the same thing as Beethoven, and he continues on with That's some pretty darn good songwriting, I'd say. And on the same album, we have a song called Laila, which he coincidentally also wrote. We all know that song, right? But this song is the most peculiar and awkward chord change you could ever imagine. It starts on a D power chord, and the song really starts in the key of D minor. We've established our key, and what does Eric Clapton do? He starts singing the verse in C sharp minor. Now that's the most strange chord you could ever pick. very far away from D minor. Imagine, it's like writing a song like this. D, D. No one would ever do something like that, right? Well, that's what Eric Clapton is doing, and the reason it works is he doesn't modulate to C sharp minor, but in fact E. And from E, you can very easily go back to D minor, but still, that's a pretty unique chord change. But it worked. Now, besides being a great songwriter, foremost, of course, Eric Clapton is a great blues guitar player, and his rendition of Crossroads, especially, is very awesome. That's a classic Clapton lick. Beautiful. Let's see what he's doing. We're in the key of A, basically the A minor pentatonic scale. But he starts with a hammer-on onto the 6th fret. That's the major 3rd. Slide bar, pull off. Hammer-on again. And on the A string. How does that sound? And then the trick is to play it fast. Now probably some of you are wondering, yeah, that's nice, but how in the hell do you play that fast? The trick really is to have a very, very, very relaxed hand. If you're not able to play this fast, it's probably because you have tension. Any kind of tension here, you won't play it fast. You know, when you give someone a hand, like the dead fish, which you probably shouldn't do, that's the way how it should feel. A complete relaxed strumming hand, right hand. Now, another thing that he does very often in the solo, which is one of his signature licks, is this one. Works so nice. Those two notes together, it's something he does so very often. If you want to play that, make sure to put your middle finger on the 7th fret, assuming we're in the key of A, of course. Slide up 2 frets. Add the index finger, 8th fret B string. Play them together. And there we are. And you notice I use a bit of vibrato. You can play both strings together. Or you can do some alternate picking. Both work together fine. You can also bend towards the same thing. I want to use my ring finger and little finger if I want to do that. But of course, you can guess it, Eric Clapton uses his middle finger and ring finger. Lovely stuff. Okay guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want me to do more on Eric Clapton, make sure to hit that like button. And as always, a huge thanks to my patrons for helping me create this video and supporting the channel. I will see you next time.